Minister Larry Powell was the church leader, charismatic, but with a penchant for evil. He wielded his charm with a sinister edge. Rumors about the church had always circulated. The collection plate was always full, and the donors were plentiful. Yet the church remained in constant disrepair. For some reason, they frequently held services at the Frederick Ulysses Comstock Community Center. Another peculiarity about Minister Powell was his quantity of tattoos he had. He was proud of them, especially the knuckle tattoos. Night of the Hunter, he would chuckle. I may not have Robert Mitchum's looks, but I sure as shit have more tattoos than him. He was a foul-mouthed minister, justifying his language with the claim that God respects action, not words. He claimed to have solved the puzzles of the Frederick Ulysses Comstock Community Center, insisting the puzzle has been solved with the good book. It contains all the answers, the Bible. He always peeked in to see the women puzzlers, though he had no concept of their mindset. They were problem solvers and analysts. He was essentially a control freak, hustling a couple thousand-year-old piece of mythology for his own selfish needs. Many of the puzzlers had religion and spirituality, but they weren't buying Mr. Powell's tripe. Despite all of Minister Powell's baggage and shortcomings, he was one of those tanned surfer types, not unlike Flash Sid. He had a bevy of women after him, just not the puzzler women. His leadership at the church ended when a couple of First Amendment auditors filled with piss and vinegar showed up at Minister Powell's sermon in the music room of the Frederick Ulysses Comstock Community Center. They informed the minister that they had the right to audit and record in the building. As they were doing so, the good minister summoned his understudy, Martino Diablo, to quickly shut the trapdoor leading to the tunnel. All of this occurred with about 20 or so of his groupie/congregation in attendance. The auditors were cocky, full of YouTube fame, and felt invincible with the First Amendment on their side. Neither one was physically intimidating to the minister. Minister Powell was a big MMA fan, especially of Stockton's Nick Diaz. Let's face it, the good minister would cheekily light a blunt once in a while in honor of Nick. The auditors were aggressive with the minister and now Martino. The problem was the auditors were not the most sizable men around. One was a diehard incel and the other had studied ballet just like Ronald Reagan's son. YouTube empowered them, but keyboard warriors versus foe Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz resulted in fist-smashing keyboards. We have the First Amendment right to be here. We will film you if we bleepin' want. They yelled at each other, filming themselves and exchanging legal threats. The auditors were poor posers as constitutional lawyers. Jesus was mentioned in vain by an auditor, and then Martino screamed, "Smesh," like Kamzat. The good minister and Martino executed their well-trained MMA moves, full mount and ground and pound. The First Amendment was crushed again by religion and brute force. Dana White would have awarded them Fight of the Night bonus. The groupies were initially enthralled by the spectacle, but as a natural course of events took over, sympathy kicked in. A large number of the congregation tended to Leo and Kyle, the pummeled First Amendment auditors. They had They had there had been some ignored foreshadowing going into this violent affair. Both auditors donned greasy pork pie hats, and nothing good can happen when one is in a pork pie hat. It was common for violence to erupt in Corvée Beach proper, whether it was over donuts or flying spaghetti monsters. There was a hair trigger. This had been a relatively new phenomenon. Many thought it was because President Archibald Doddering had been elected. It was believed he wanted equality, so the water was tainted with what was thought to be a tranquilizing agent. However, it had a violent reaction on males using TRT, hence the violent reaction of the good minister and Frenchie. President Doddering wanted citizens all on the same level. A doddering fool. The feeble-mindedness caused an upswing in interest in becoming First Amendment auditors and an upsurge in young people using fidget spinners. Unfortunately, the Ice Bucket Challenge didn't make a comeback. The water specifically had a hint of tarragon flavor to keep it within the boundaries of French culture, which was fitting for the ambiance of Corvée Beach proper. JBT was shocked when it dawned on him that the tranquilizing tarragon-flavored water was influencing a 20-something who had an uncanny resemblance to President Biden. This individual was drinking from a water bottle and lapping up an ice cream cone like an old-age pensioner while spinning a fidget spinner. Skateboarding had gone out of fashion because of the lack of coordination the water produced. And on the plus side, abstract art had made a comeback. The impact on the intellectual capacity of the First Amendment auditors was negligible. Pointing a camera, swearing and saying First Amendment this and that was non-brain taxing. Some in Corvée Beach proper refused to drink the water. They were referred to as au pur. They were written off as nuts. I'm pretty sure all the puzzlers were au pur. I think so.